Imagine standing at the altar in front of 200 guests, ready to marry the woman you love, and the moment you begin your vows, every phone in the audience buzzes with a shocking video proving that your bride and your best man betrayed you just hours before the ceremony. My name is Scott Baker, and what happened on the eve of my wedding was not just heartbreak, it was the ultimate test of betrayal, revenge, and survival. My name is Scott Baker, and at 32 years old I thought I had my entire life figured out. I was a software architect with a specialty in optimizing logistics operations for construction companies, and that expertise had given me both purpose and pride beyond my career. My family owned Baker & Sons Construction Supply, a respected regional building materials company in Ohio that had been run with discipline and tradition for 3 generations. To the outside world, I was the golden son of a powerful family, and my destiny was unfolding exactly as everyone expected, because tomorrow I was supposed to marry Jessica Taylor, the daughter of Robert Taylor, head of Taylor & Associates Developments, the most influential real estate development firm in the state. Our marriage was meant to be the bridge between 2 dynasties. Her family would keep receiving our construction supplies, my family would keep receiving their lucrative contracts, and together millions of dollars would flow seamlessly. It was to be the perfect merger of love and business. Yet behind the smiles and toasts and floral arrangements of the Hilton Garden in rehearsal dinner, something unseen was cracking beneath the polished surface of that perfect narrative. I had always prided myself on my ability to detect flaws in code, spotting errors in vast digital structures that others overlooked, but in the structure of my own life, I had overlooked the biggest bug of all, a flaw that would erupt less than 12 hours before the wedding, and that flaw came in the form of betrayal from the 2 people I trusted most. The rehearsal dinner had ended, and I found myself at the hotel bar sipping bourbon while chatting with some extended family members. Daniel Smith, my best friend since college, and my best man at the wedding, joined us with his usual charisma. Daniel was everything I was not: loud, spontaneous, always craving attention. And though his recklessness with technology often annoyed me, I tolerated it out of loyalty. That night his carelessness became the doorway through which my world collapsed. He left his phone unlocked on the table when he went to the restroom, and the screen lit up with a notification from Jessica. My heart froze because the preview read, "Loved what you sent me." I do not know what compelled me in that moment, whether it was instinct or suspicion or divine warning, but I opened the message and the breath caught in my throat. It was a video. Daniel had filmed himself intimate, unmistakable, with Jessica in her hotel room. I recognized the decor, the voices, the laughter. It was undeniable. My fiancé and my best friend had been together just hours before the betrayal hit me like shrapnel, tearing through the carefully constructed life I thought was mine. My first impulse was violent. I wanted to smash his phone against the wall and break his face when he returned, but another voice inside me, colder and sharper, told me to wait, told me to think, told me not to destroy myself for people who had already destroyed me. With trembling fingers, I copied the file to my own phone before Daniel returned. When he sat back down, grinning, joking about the wedding, I wore a mask of calm that felt unnatural but necessary. He had no idea that I had just witnessed his self-filmed confession of betrayal and Jessica's complicity. The rage inside me cooled into a dangerous clarity, and my mind, the same mind that had designed systems to move trucks efficiently and streamline supply chains, began drafting the most important system of my life, not for logistics, not for business, but for revenge. I spent that night in my hotel room, not sleeping, while Jessica rested peacefully in hers, thinking her secret was safe. I reviewed the conversation history between her and Daniel and discovered that this was not a one-time lapse, but a weeks-long affair documented with videos and messages. My fiancé and my best man had been mocking me behind my back while I planned our Caribbean honeymoon. The evidence was overwhelming, and now it was mine to control. Every file, every word copied and encrypted in my private cloud. My revenge would not be impulsive, it would be strategic, technical, flawless. I planned it with the same precision I applied to every system I had ever designed. The wedding would be held at Riverside Gardens by the Coyote River with 200 guests, many of them the most influential figures in Ohio. The ceremony would even be streamed to distant relatives. My idea was ruthless but perfect. During the vows, I would trigger a distribution script that would send the most compromising video to every guest simultaneously. Each would receive an SMS with a link to a server I created. The timing would be surgical, the humiliation absolute, and best of all, legally untouchable. The morning of the wedding, I performed my routine as if nothing had happened. Breakfast at IHOP, a quick scan of the news, polite conversations with family. Daniel came to help me dress, and he laughed about how calm I seemed. He told me I was the luckiest man alive, and I almost admired the audacity of his lies. Jessica called me around noon, her voice sweet, her words filled with anticipation, and I replied with equal sweetness, saying it would be a day no one would ever forget. She thought it was romance. I knew it was prophecy. By the time we reached Riverside Gardens, the guests were already seated. The venue was exquisite with flowers, archways, and the river glistening behind the altar. Jessica arrived in her $25,000 gown, radiant, as if she had won the world. Her father handed her to me with tears in his eyes, and the Reverend began the ceremony. When the moment came for personal vows, I took the microphone. Jessica expected declarations of eternal love. Instead, I gave her the truth. Last night, I discovered something that changed everything. I said clearly into the microphone, 200 pairs of eyes fixed on me. Jessica's smile faltered. Daniel's expression stiffened. I told them that Jessica and Daniel had betrayed me. Then I triggered the script. Phones vibrated around the venue, and within seconds the evidence of their betrayal spread like wildfire. Gasps, whispers, horrified cries filled the air. Jessica's face drained of color. Daniel's body stiffened as if he had been struck by lightning. They tried to deny, to plead, but the proof was undeniable. I told the guests that the betrayal had been ongoing for 3 weeks. Daniel stammered that it was just once. Jessica begged me to speak in private, but I refused. The truth had been hidden in the dark. I would leave it in the light. The ceremony collapsed into chaos. Robert Taylor, Jessica's father, exploded with fury, calling me irrational, but I told him to watch the video before speaking. Jessica's mother tried to salvage the situation by pleading that Jessica was pregnant, and that I should think of the child. At that moment, the air shifted, as if the floor dropped beneath everyone. Jessica was indeed pregnant, but she could not say with certainty who the father was. I demanded a public paternity test, and she fell to her knees, confessing she did not know if the child was mine or Daniel's. The silence that followed was heavier than stone. 2 dynasties collapsed in that single confession. I removed the ring and placed it on the altar, telling the guests I would not marry someone who did not respect me. I walked out, leaving Jessica sobbing, Daniel pale, Robert seething, and 200 people stunned. My plan had executed flawlessly. I was free. In the days that followed, the video spread across Ohio. Jessica was pressured into the paternity test, and as I expected, Daniel was the father. The scandal destroyed the Taylor family's reputation. Contracts dissolved, alliances shattered. Robert Taylor was forced to sell stakes of his company. Daniel lost his job and eventually worked in a used car dealership. Jessica and Daniel married out of necessity, bound not by love but by scandal and a child. My own family, Baker and Sons, thrived, liberated from the political marriage. Our profits rose 20% and we regained independence. I left Columbus, traveling across the country to heal. Months later in Denver, I attended a tech conference where I met Emily White, a former college acquaintance. She was brilliant, straightforward, and genuine qualities I now valued above all else. We had coffee, then conversations, then a bond that deepened naturally. For the first time since betrayal, I felt something real. Emily asked nothing of me except honesty. She saw me not as a business asset, but as a man. Our connection grew, and within a year I moved to Denver to build a new life. We married in an intimate ceremony 2 years later, surrounded only by people who truly cared. Jessica and Daniel remained in Columbus, their lives marked by the scandal they had created. I saw Jessica once years later, and she apologized through tears. I told her I hoped she found peace, but I held no grudge because I had already won, not through destruction, but through rebuilding. My revenge was complete because I had turned betrayal into liberation. Now at 40 years old, I live in Denver with Emily and our 2 children, Sophie and Michael. My consulting firm thrives across the nation, and I sleep peacefully each night. I learned that the most devastating betrayal can also be the key that unlocks a truer life. The Taylors and Daniel destroyed themselves with their own actions. I simply revealed the truth. The real revenge was not in their downfall, but in my freedom to build a life rooted in love and trust. When I look back, I do not see tragedy, I see transformation. The boy who sought validation through family alliances became the man who discovered his own worth through truth. The friend who betrayed me became irrelevant. The woman who lied to me became a footnote. The true story is the one I built with Emily. The only suspense that remains is what the future holds, because life is unpredictable. But I now know I am strong enough to face whatever comes. And so my name is Scott Baker. I was betrayed, humiliated, abandoned at the altar, yet I emerged freer, stronger, and happier than I ever thought possible. The world expected me to crumble, but instead I rebuilt myself into a life of integrity and love. The betrayal that could have ended me instead began the truest chapter of my life.